My next guest is Rohan Randhawa. I've known Rohan for many years and I've always known him to be an honest, hardworking and authentic guy. Rohan joined me on the podcast to share his journey from cancer survivor to keynote speaker. Rohan has faced much adversity in his life and his outlook and resilience are profound and inspiring. Rohan firmly believes the more resilient we are, the more unstoppable we become. In this episode, we cover a lot of ground, including Rohan's cancer survivor journey and what he learned from it, how he worked through the grief from the death of his father while at university, how resilience has played a part in his life, what it means to be a dad, and how the hardships in his life have shaped him to who he is now. I can tell you right now, this episode is a personal one. It was inspiring to hear Rohan talk about his outlook on life, how resilience and mental fortitude have kept him strong, and how he's dedicated to empowering and motivating people to try new methods of improving their own resilience. So tune in, enjoy, and subscribe to the channel.
To that,
No, we'll cut this out. This is for us. This is for us. Sweet, mate. Well, I guess the main thing is who are you? Like what? Because obviously we've known each other for a fair amount of time. We've not really connected the last 3 or 4 years. We haven't reached on social media. You know, I think we've reached out a couple of times in the last year or so. But I guess for those who don't know you, haven't seen you on Instagram or LinkedIn, just give us a bit of info about you, who you are, and like what you do.
Yeah, so who am I? What a question to kick off with. So I think I'm a person who's quite versatile, I suppose, at the moment. I think one of the main things I'm focusing on currently is resilience, and spreading awareness about resilience and trying to help people become more resilient. And the reason for doing that is I've had a lot of adversities in my life. 3 of them being the big 3, I like to call them, which is cancer, grief, and infertility, all happening in quite a...
all the juicy ones.
Yeah, all the juicy ones. Yeah, everything that you want in life, yeah. So all came to me all at once. So yeah, a few adversities that I've had to deal with over the years, and that hence why I'm really passionate about spreading awareness about resilience and tactics and strategies about how people can cope better, I suppose, in the face of adversity. And then other things that I do, I'm a board member of a children's cancer charity called Candlelighters. And again, this goes back to when I was diagnosed with cancer as a young boy. The charity helped me and my family at a time which was quite difficult. And so I've always wanted to give something back. So that's kind of one of my proudest accomplishments, really, sitting on their board and being able to support young people and families going through that. And then finally, cricket. So cricket. So having an Indian dad.
Mate, I have an Indian dad. He doesn't give a shit about cricket.
He's probably the only one.
Mate, when he watches football, he supports the other team that's not England. He doesn't care who they are. He doesn't care who they are. It could be Russia, Mexico, Iceland. He supports Scotland in the World Cup. Yeah, just because we're playing England. He's
brilliant. He's the only Indian man who doesn't like cricket. Though. But anyway, he Dad came over and straight away had a bat in our hands, me and my brother. And I always wanted to be a professional cricketer. To be honest, I was not good enough. And when I was about 15, 16 years old, kind of had to make that decision. I'm not going to make an excuse like most people do and say, I got an injury and I didn't make it into the side. I just wasn't good enough to sort of make it to that higher level. But then kind of wanted a career in cricket and then ended up working for Yorkshire Cricket, being the head of disability cricket there for sort of 4+ years. And then moved on to an organisation called Chance to Shine, who are the biggest cricket charity in the UK. So we support over 500,000 young people to play cricket every year. And those young people are from underserved communities, from the most deprived, top 30% deprived areas in England, Scotland and Wales. So again, I think for me, I'm really lucky that I'm doing on a daily basis something every single day that I'm passionate about. If it's the resilience stuff, if it's supporting with Candlelighters in the cancer stuff, and then kind of my day job in the cricket world. So I think every day doesn't feel like I'm working. But yeah, that kind of sums me up professionally, really. As a
summary, to be honest. It's like a 60-second summary. There's a lot going on there. There's lots to come digest. Thankfully, I know, so it's not too bad. I mean, you battled with cancer. How old were you? Was that 12, like 12 or 13?
So I was 8.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, so
yeah.
long. You
8
told me-
years
you
old.
told me this,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remembered that. And what kind of cancer was it?
It was called Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah, Hodgkin's
Named
lymphoma.
after someone. It's named after someone, isn't it? Is it?
Not sure, to be honest. Yeah,
Someone
I'm
called Hodgson's, I reckon.
maybe, yeah. Maybe we might have to Google that. I know there's two kinds. There's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Doesn't sound good.
It's not good, mate.
No.
It's not a good thing.
What does it do to your body? Does it kind of break down your immune system and stuff like that?
Yeah, so it's a form of a blood cancer, and it causes and what it is like a clotting of blood, and that's what causes kind of the cancer and the tumor. So yeah, I think for me it was built up in kind of my neck area, just here, and kind of when I was 8 years old, I was very kind of. I was lucky to catch it when I did, because it was stage 3. Cancer goes to stage 4, and then that.
Oh, you were quite late.
Yeah.
Is there like symptoms though?
You know what? It's really crazy. So the way that we caught it was because I was playing cricket in the garden with my brother at the time, which is funnily enough, we did that every single night.
Nice.
Dad was trying to get us into the England side, trying to train us, but it was never to be. And my brother kind of noticed that my hands and feet were really swollen, and it was kind of like, "Wow, what the hell's wrong with you?" And brother were kind of taking the piss out of me, mate, what the heck is wrong with you, etc. Rushed over to hospital. And the doctor took one look at us and said, there's something wrong here. And what kind of transpired was that my kidneys were dysfunctioning, and it had caused a lot of fluid to spread around my body. Mm-hmm. That went to my hands and feet and caused them to swell. But at the same time, we did a scan, and they'd found the cancer, stage 3, Hodgkin's lymphoma at 8 years old. And it was June 2004 at the time. I can remember it was like a sunny summer's day. It was...
The one we had that year.
Yeah, the only one we've ever had
as well.
Yeah, and then kind of that's when my resilience journey started from that day onward. But I was really lucky. I think I do believe in fate and things happening for a reason. Because if I didn't, if my brother didn't notice my hands and feet that day, who knows, that could have been too late and could have spread, and that was it for me, really. Jeez. Yeah. So.
And then I guess you're in hospital for a while.
Yeah.
Do you have to have surgery and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I've had multiple surgeries, probably 4 or 5 surgeries.
8 years old.
At 8 years old, it was really, really tough, and kind of not being able to do what other young kids do at 8 years old, which is go to school, play with their friends, and. Even things like learning to swim. I'm not the strongest swimmer now, but it's not just because I'm blaming that. But I always tell my wife that.
You can blame that, it's okay. No one's going to take it, no one's going to say no to that.
Yeah, it's just missed a lot of really valuable childhood years. And yeah, it's still kind of thinking back to it now, it kind of still thinking about myself as that young kid. It's sad. It's sad kind of thinking about the place that I was in. But at the time, it was just life. I was 8 years old, and I kind of was in the position I was in, and had to get on with it. And I had a great family to sort of huddle around me and support me through that period. Really.
Yeah, I can't imagine what. I mean, I think I've had one surgery when I was 5, which is an umbilical hernia.
Okay.
Umbilical hernia? It's quite common, actually.
Doesn't sound good either, that.
To be honest, hernias are one of the most, recommended, one of the most normal, used, it's the most, done surgery in the world. It's very common. My dad's actually had like 5, actually. It's not nice, because obviously, you don't know what we're talking about. It's supposed to be like a business podcast, but it's like when you skip, basically, have you seen Friends? You watch Friends? And Joey, he's
My wife loves it,
he's doing the weights, and he's like, damn you 16s, whatever. Danny has that lump. It's like basically your skin kind of protrudes from your skin, and essentially you have to kind of make a couple of incisions and push it back in.
Yeah.
Now it's keyhole. They just go for your belly button. Back then, this is I'm 29, so this is when I was 24 years ago.
Okay.
I remember being terrified. I remember going in, the nurse is trying to give you the sticker with the cream on for the anesthetic.
Yeah.
Dad's a nurse. I knew that was bullshit. I was like, no. She's like, do you want the cat or the dog? And I'm like, how about neither? And then I was a cheeky kid, and then I remember being terrified. I could still remember it. I don't remember much from being that young, but my mum seems to think I was 3.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I don't remember when I was 3 years old, but I think it was around 4 or 5. I remember waking up, and the first thing I said was because I was promised anything I could have. Because you're a kid, I was a fat kid, so I wanted sweets. I love sweets. I'm surprised I'm not diabetic, to be honest. But she was like, you can have anything you want. Don't know why, never asked it before. Sugar on toast. Because it was breakfast, and I'm like, what's the worst thing I can have for breakfast? And I was like, sugar on toast. Never had it since. Never really thought about it. And my mom thought it was the weirdest thing. But I remember that little memory, and I'm assuming you have that same, like, I think you said actually when you did that talk in Leeds a couple of weeks ago when we filmed it, and was it you had that picture of it was like a council, not a council, it was like a flat.
Yeah, a flat. So again, this is kind of one of the resilient strategies that I talk about quite often when I speak to groups of people. And kind of when I was laid in my hospital bed at 8 years old, and I'd have these, really strong chemotherapy drugs that would just make your whole body absolutely ache to the maximum ability. So if you think that you've been doing a hard gym session or you've just ran a marathon, times that pain times 10. So, trying to get people listening to understand the levels of pain that we're talking about here. And then also at the same time of running a marathon, stick needles in your eyes. Try to do that. And that's the kind of level we're talking.
Hair as well?
Lost all my hair. Lost all my hair at the time. I had a Justin Bieber like quiff, and I was like, no girls are going to fancy me. No. Oh my God.
Mate, bolds than you quiff nowadays, man.
Exactly.
Like,
That's what I've gone for. I've shaved
I'm
it all
tempted
off
to
now.
shave all mine off like a
that's
monk.
it.
But
that's it. Yeah, Chris Williamson made it look cool.
yeah,
so
he does. To be fair, he really does.
I was like,
he
cool.
really does.
But coming back to these flats. So yeah, when I was kind of in pain in bed, I looked at this block of flats outside my hospital window, and there was no amount of painkillers that could help me in certain periods, but I would pretend that I was on level 10 of these flats on the balconies and close my eyes and slowly breathe and work my way down from 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way down to 0. And at the time, I didn't know it that, I was relaxing my inner sort of nervous system. But it was the only way that I could be at peace. And at that time, I was, practicing mindfulness and visualization. And that's something that I talk about a lot. And it's something that some people might question and think, oh, how can you just look at something and close your eyes and breathe slowly and everything's fine? And look, at the end of the day, it's not for everyone. It doesn't fix everything. But at that moment in time, for me, and it's still something that I use today, if I'm in a really stressful situation and something's really getting on top of me, just to spend 10 seconds to close my eyes and just count my way down from 10, 9, 8. And then I feel like, a little bit refreshed, like ready to go again. So yeah, it's something that I still kind of carry on, as of today, even from that long ago.
It's quite impressive actually, like interesting as well to be so young. Like, I mean, I've tried mindfulness and meditation. To be honest, it makes me more annoyed. I've got very high energy and ADHD, as you can probably imagine. Bit of OCD, undiagnosed, but I've been told it many times. I'm assuming I am. I wouldn't be surprised if I got the test back and it was correct, but I've not gone for one yet. But although I have thought about it recently to go do it, just because I thought it'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, you should definitely.
And also, it gives you a bit of job security, you get some free drugs, not bad. Riddling with the boys on the Friday night. Don't take that was a joke, by the way, kids. But yeah, no, it's interesting because being that young and being able to like manage your emotions at a level, typically when you hit puberty, it's all chaos and emotions and hormones, and then I think it's your hippocampus. I think it's guys catch up about 25, girls are about 20, 21, I think. Typically, that's why guys are much more immature than girls. Sure. That's why girls date guys who are older, because it's just the way it is. So I think it's interesting that like kind of mindfulness and that mindset is kind of traveled through the years to then who you are now. You're 28?
Yeah, 28 now. And I think it's really interesting you say that, because the only reason why I think it has traveled through for me and I still practice it today is because I've had it proven to me in a space where I really needed it and it worked for me. So I think it's one of those things that if you're not in an adverse situation, or you might not need to practice it, as much, but in that moment for me, it was my kind of like, nothing is working, all the drugs, all the painkillers. And I didn't even know, again, as a child, that I was doing this at the time. It was only afterwards that I understand what I was doing. And it's weird how your brain, I feel, tries to protect your body and your mind in a period of severe trauma.
No, it's impressive. I think I just find it crazy how like you said, because it's when people, it's like that thing where you see it all the time in films, people aren't religious, and then when the world's ending or they like start praying, because it's because they know that they know that nothing else is going to help them. And it's, you know, I mean, I'm religious. I've been Christian my whole life. All my family are. Don't go to church as much as I should do.
Yeah.
I think everyone feels that way, I suppose, about, you know, you could always be doing more.
Yeah.
But I think it's like people find, everyone has like their religion, right? It's like, if you're a Christian or you're Muslim or Hindu, so for some people it's football, for some people it's meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and like spirituality and, you know, stones and crystals, and everyone's got their own thing. I think it actually makes me nervous when someone's so like, what's the word when you're not religious again? It's atheist. Not atheist, but like I find it very strange or slightly off when someone's so just them and they don't believe in, they have no, it's like they're just existing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like everyone's, you know, I'm sure the people, you think that about people, but they've always probably got something. Maybe they're actually secretly a monk, or maybe they're actually secretly Buddhist. You don't know. It's very, you know, you find out these things as well about people, usually after they've like died or something, where they're actually, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know they were this person, or they're actually, you thought they were a horrible person. Turns out they were donating millions to charity every year, but they didn't want to know. So I think it's, everyone's got their own little thing. I'm still trying to find mine. I guess it's probably this, if I'm honest.
Absolutely.
But I find the gym, weights, it's like my meditation. Because in the gym, and a lot of people say this on like podcasts and stuff, and there's a lot of fitness influencers, and people say like, because when you've got a weight on your chest or when you lay it back or whatever, the last thing you're thinking about is the girls not texting you. Oh, to be fair, no, I do actually think that. That's actually my motivation. I'm like, you fat shit. You can't deadlift this 120. You did this last week. That girl ain't gonna text you back if you don't lift this 120. Mate, there's nothing more motivating.
Sometimes that's the only way.
Mate, there's nothing more motivating than self-deprecation. Because I do that a lot to myself, and I've been told not to do it as much.
Yeah.
I know a lot of comedians do it, like self-deprecation, because it's their, you know, maybe they've bullied as kids, and that's their outlook for like humor. Humor's very much my outlook. You know, I laugh at funerals.
Humor is a massive thing about resilience as well. Being able to laugh at yourself, being able to laugh in a very... you know, in the face of adversity. It's something that I've done, and I've made jokes out of, you know, having cancer and going through grief, and especially infertility. You know, I'm sure we'll probably come on to that.
I was actually going to ask you that next, actually, because I guess, because, you know, we're both guys, and I know a lot, and you've probably talked about this as well, in a lot of your keynotes about how guys don't talk enough, male suicides. I think it's 5 people who kill themselves for guys. There's a lot of importance put on women's mental health, women's right, and rightly so. I think we've come a long way. I think, you know, women absolutely smashing it. I think it's like 6% of women now, 6% of CEOs or directors or people high up in companies are now women, which before it was like 10%. So I think women are absolutely killing it, rightly so. And I think, but then I think as well, on the flip side is there's also the flip side of the coin, where is then that attention getting taken away from guys, and it's like, you know, the guys' mental health is terrible, you know, suicide rates through the roof. And I think it goes back to like resilience, and I guess you can't just be like to a guy with depression, oh, you need to be more resilient, because it's like, what does that mean? So I think, I'm losing my point here, to be fair, but I think as well, like just the being able to have a space where you talk about it, and I think fertility and you know, guys getting checked for you know, cancer, so because I mean, most guys typically, if you ask them, have you been for a checkup, and because, you know, girls go for like those checkups when they hit like 30 or 25 or whatever it is. Most guys, even if they were worried about something, they just let it slide, and it's so bad. And I think it's getting better. And I know a lot of my friends now, they'll literally just be like, I went for ultrasound my balls the other day, and I was like,
it's good.
And like, we laugh about it, but at the time, I'm like, is everything okay? And like, I've been in bad places. I had to go to therapy for a while. I've had nowhere near, obviously, as like the level I suppose you were at. I mean, I'm not trying to like play the violin,
but I think again, it's you know, everyone's different. You know, adversity is different for everybody. You know, for me, I've been through these 3 things, but you know, your adversity is not any less important than my adversity. I think everybody's is you know, individual to them, really. It's
funny because of resilience as well, because I love that word, because I love Ross Edgley, and he's got, obviously the book.
He's an absolute beast, isn't he? God, he is a beast.
I actually met him at a gym shark event
last year.
You did,
and he can swim a long way.
So jacked. He honestly, he's like a golden retriever on crack. Like honestly, I met him. He was coming out the crowd, and I shouted, "I was like, Ross!" And he was going to do a thing. He was running away, and I was like, "Oh, you're right, mate." And he was like, "Oh, you're right, big man." He gave me a hug, and he was like, "You smell so good." cashmere jumper, just warm, everything I wanted. Like,
Ross, if you're watching this, he wants your number.
He actually replied to a couple of my DMs, to be fair, which I was buzzing about. But he's a perfect example of someone who's just humor, goes for adversity, never complains, just constant. I don't know how he does his mental capacity. I know Chris Hemsworth. Have you seen that TV show, did Limitless on Disney?
Yeah.
Where he like trained Chris Hemsworth how to swim through the ice and stuff. And Chris Hemsworth was like, he's a very strong, very resilient person. Absolutely beast. He's a god of thunder. Like, let's be honest, absolutely jacked.
He's also a big lad.
He's massive. All his brothers are. But Ross Edgley's there, and he says about Ross Edgley, he's like, he's like, he is the fittest, because it's not about physical. He's like, his mental strength. He's swimming in Iceland or doing 12-hour days through the British Isles, 50. I don't know how many days it was, 152 days or something like that. And he still didn't have a smile on his face, and you get at the end and he's still smiling, even though his tongue's falling off and his hands are falling apart. And he actually had something similar, I guess, to your side, where he was doing this challenge and he actually found out his dad had cancer, and his dad was saying, like, I'm gonna come back. And he said to his dad, his dad was like, if you step up, he's like, I'll see you at the end of the thing. And I think that is like another point of like resilience, and how it's weird how people's brains work. And I guess some people, I don't want to say some people are stronger than others, but I think mentally, you always have to train your mind, your body. Like, you as well, you train the gym, train it, your mind as well.
100%. Look, I think sort of mental fitness is the same as physical fitness. If you are not doing things or looking at things that you can improve your mental fitness, ultimately, when you do face a challenge, you are going to struggle. And there's this, I always talk to people as well about this Buddhist concept about chosen suffering and unchosen suffering. And kind of the unchosen suffering is some of the stuff that I've been through, in terms of, I was diagnosed with cancer, my dad died, and I got this infertility diagnosis. I didn't choose any of that, but I was forced into a situation where I had to be resilient and I had to do something to get into a better place. I'm not saying you have to go through massive adversities like that to become resilient, but you can't be sat in your armchair at home with a beer in hand and watching Friends from 9 till 5 every single day and call yourself resilient, because you have to go through some sort of adversity. And that could be pushing yourself in the gym. It could be putting yourself on a diet. It could be starting a podcast. It could be starting a business. It could be reading 10 books. It could be learning to play the piano. It just depends on what is that suffering for you? What can you do to push yourself to that next level to enhance your capacity to be more resilient? And I think sometimes there's I love saying this as well when I do my talks about a Stoic philosopher called Seneca, and he talks about this concept about, you don't know how kind of good you are until you put yourself in a position of being challenged. And if you kind of float through life being comfortable all of the time and never wanting any stress or any adversity, you don't know what you're really, really capable of as a person.
It's literally interesting. I was just about to say something very, very similar. It's like when it's that, I don't know who said it. It's probably not, I'm going to absolutely butcher the quote, but it's like when you push into a corner, that's when you find out who you really are. And it's like, it's actually top of my LinkedIn. You might, I don't know if you've seen my bio, and it's what Chris Bumstead always says, and it's pressure is a privilege. Because it is. Because
I was listening to him on the way here, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
with Chris Williamson?
Yeah, with Chris, the one, so I was
very,
listening
very
to that.
good.
Because he's doing another Mr. Olympia.
He just won it, hasn't he? He just won it.
Has he just won it? Wow.
2 weeks ago? Last week?
Right, okay.
10 days ago?
Wow.
Yeah, something like that. He's 5 times.
Wow.
I think he's retiring now.
Yeah, unbelievable.
He's just had a kid, though, so I think he's kind of...
Yeah.
And also, he struggled with... he got diagnosed with... What is it that Christopher Hawking had? Motor neuron disease.
Okay,
he's got diagnosed with some form of that.
Okay, wow.
But I think he's sort of like, it's not like anything too bad, but I think it could turn bad. Yeah. So I think he's kind of like stepping away from it a bit, just because he's had a kid and stuff, which makes a big difference. And obviously, we kind of went off topic, but obviously talking about the fertility thing. What, if you're obviously comfortable talking about it, what went on with that? Because I know obviously you adopted a beautiful daughter.
Adopted a little girl, Anaya, and she's now our world. So with having cancer and having chemotherapy, big side effect of that is effects on your infertility,
of course,
on your fertility in general. And for me, I was in a situation where I did all the tests, which was quite an experience to do that in a hospital room next to other people in the corridor. I still remember it now. I had my phone perched up there, and I could hear people. And my phone fell at one point, and I was like, disconnected from my headphones. So yeah, anyway, that's a whole.
Wait, is that what I'm thinking? Oh wow,
that's a whole thing, mate. That's a whole thing, mate. So.
You know what? Is it a hospital just for that?
It's a room just for that.
It's a clinic.
So
everyone there is for the same reason.
It's actually downstairs in the hospital.
Okay, so it's not a private hospital just for that.
No.
So when you park on the car park, you walk in, and you like to the guy.
Yeah.
You're like looking at each other like it's like that.
It's funny.
That Teddy, you're looking at each other like, all right, guys.
They put it right in like kind of the basement, like right at the bottom of the hospital. So you have to go down like 5 floors.
I'm glad they do that. To be honest, I don't want anyone to see me coming in.
It is crazy. Man, I won't go into too much detail about that. But
you tell me after.
You can imagine it's a funny experience. But went through all of that, did that, and then got called to the GP's office, and he sat myself and my wife down. We're obviously a little bit nervous at this point, thinking, we really want a child. We've been talking about having a kid for a long time, and now this is a moment of truth, really.
Yeah.
And he said to me, you've got a good amount of sperm, but unfortunately, mate, it's not good enough to be able to have children. It's not strong enough.
Jeez.
So it was quite funny because I was like, I'm impressed about the amount.
Quality, but not quantity, not quality. Yeah.
Quantity, but
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
So at the time, I was like, I was laughing, and then I started crying, and then my wife started crying. I was like, oh my God.
Sets in.
So yeah, it was just it was a crazy kind of journey, and went on this journey of adoption, which is, if anybody's kind of been through the system and tried to do it or know people who've done it, it is one of the most hardest things that you can do.
I've heard, I've heard it's, tough.
And we were just blessed that we met our daughter, Anaya, quite quickly. She got brought to us by our social worker, and it felt like fate, and she was perfect, and she is perfect, and now she's with us, and it's just kind of the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it taught me a lot about gratitude as well. I think we've kind of touched on this a little bit, and it's something I speak about often in my keynotes, this idea of gratitude, that yes, for me, I couldn't biologically have my own child, and that was really, really difficult, but that provided me with an opportunity to be able to kind of meet my daughter and kind of walk into something a lot better, it was kind of life's way of pushing me into this right direction, and I'm so grateful for that. I didn't kind of just sit in this
stoop, or
feeling
sorry for yourself.
I didn't feel sorry for myself. I kind of just I had a couple of days. Don't get me wrong. I had a couple of days, as you should.
You should have a week, mate. Take two. Honestly, I'd take a year.
Yeah. So people were quite shocked. Like, Ro, how have you just got back on it and now got into this adoption process? I was like, look, it is where it is.
It's right. Life. It's right. Yeah.
It is where it is, and it pushed us into this right direction, and now it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And there's many people across the world that are going through a lot harder things than me in that situation. And some people go through that and they don't want to do adoption or can't do adoption, and they can't have a family and they don't want to have a family. So again, I'm just really, really grateful, and I think it's a massive tip that people can take away to be resilient is to practice that gratitude on a daily basis, and really think every single morning when you wake up, what am I grateful for today? What is bringing me happiness? I woke up in a warm, cozy bed. I've got a lovely partner. If you've got a partner, I've got you don't have to. You've got the freedom of doing what you want, when you want, how you want.
It's not the same, guys.
It's
all a lie.
Yeah. But it's just the small things in life. If you're grateful for the small things, it really does make a big difference.
I believe, I always say this a lot. I like to think I quoted it, but I definitely didn't. it's like you worry about the small things because those are the things that will add up to the big things, which most people don't pay attention to. Like before we were starting, it's like after the lights about 20 minutes, you'll probably wish you could record that. And then just because I'm like, is it right? Is it wrong? Bear in mind, I'm also colorblind and I do photography. I think it actually makes me a better photographer because I'm actually like, oh, I can see this difference to you, and then people change it. I'm like, nah, that's shit. But I think
perfection's overrated, isn't it?
But it's like the thing is, it's like that's that 1%, and like we were speaking about earlier, you know, podcasts you reach past most people don't make it past 20. After 21, you're in the top 1%. It's like start where others stop. Again, the start thing. I don't know who's Zach George. He's like a CrossFit athlete. He actually wrote a book about it. I think it's called Start Where Others Stop. Because a lot of people, you know, as soon as it gets hard, they're like, oh, well, I'm not getting 1,000 listeners. Oh, well, I'm starting crypto and now I'm not making £1 million a day or £10,000 a day, which would be great. But it's those little things where people are worried too much about the bigger picture. They're going in for the wrong reasons. Like we said before, you don't go into podcasting to make money. You don't go into football to be a footballer because you want to be rich. You go to it because you love playing football. You love, you know, the culture. You love the game. You're doing it since you were a kid. Same with you with cricket.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, you do those things because you love them, and then the benefit or I'm trying to think of the word. I guess like the repercussions or the bonus would be that, oh, well, now I can do it as a business. Now I can make money off it.
100%.
And I guess, like you said, you work now where you do something you love and you make a living off it. Yeah. So doing something you love, so you're not feeling like you're going to work or you feel like you're, gotta go to the office. My boss, Mark, is a dick. Yeah. And he's gonna like come pester me or micromanage me. You don't have to worry about that. You're your own boss. But obviously that comes with your own troubles of like, you know, you've got the issue of, which I can relate to, of, you know, job security or pension or, you know, if you're ill for 2 weeks, you don't get sick pay. But also, I mean, I take that over, I shouldn't really say this because I have a full-time job, but I mean, I guess a lot of people have that thing where, you know, I work with a lot of influencers and I see them like 20, 21, 22, 600k followers, work with Gymshark, MyProtein, ESN, they're living in lovely apartments in Manchester. They literally don't work. They just work with brands and do shoots. And I'm like, that's a really, I'm like, but you see that. I mean, I speak to them at work and they're like, mate, I was up at 5 this morning. Brand was messaging me. They're ringing me at 2 o'clock.
There's a trade-off, isn't there?
Because they're like, and they're having to edit every day. They're having to post every day. Like, and I've tried to do it as a creator, and it is flipping tough. Yeah, and I almost then come back to that, like the salary job and which is fine. I think, you know, I think you can have a bit of both.
I think you can have both, exactly.
Did you work in a full-time job?
Yeah, no, I work. So my cricket job is a full-time job at the same time.
It's a slaying salary job.
Yes.
Oh, so you have a boss?
So yeah, I do have a boss. Everyone has, no, he's actually called Steven. He's a great guy. He's just a Liverpool fan. That's the
shout out to Steven.
Yeah, shout out to Steve. No, it's
I don't know.
I think
I thought you were just freelancer.
Yeah,
like, I thought you just did it as like a.
Yeah.
I thought you did all this stuff as like a. Like you work for yourself.
Yeah,
which essentially you do. You do.
Yeah, essentially. Obviously, I do. Yeah, but the cricket stuff. No, I'm. You know, I've been employed for a while there. But again, I don't think you have to cut all ties with a full-time job and go all in at the start.
No.
Someone I think is famous for not doing this is Ryan Holiday. And I don't know if you know much about Ryan Holiday and the
Stoic guy, just
the Stoic guy,
yeah.
Daily.
Yeah. Got long face guy.
Yeah, and I think
I recognise him. He always comes on my screen. I'm always like, he's got such an animated face, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's brilliant.
He's great. Yeah.
I think he wrote 3 books while he was working for American Apparel, and he always talks about I didn't quit my job for years and years and years. So again, it's one of those things that, if you can balance everything, I think why not? You know, you don't always have to go all in and think that, you know, you have to put your whole life on the line and sacrifice your whole kind of income to be successful. But yeah, it's a bit of a, I suppose, a bit of a side note to what we were talking about. But I think what was really interesting, what you alluded to there, is people doing things for material rewards.
Yeah.
And again, in terms of when I speak to some of my clients about resilience, we talk about having a bigger purpose, an intrinsic purpose, and understanding why you are doing what you're doing. Because I think a lot of people know what they do in terms of, you know, that you do podcasting, you know how you do it, you set up all the equipment and you get the mics and the lights ready in just about. But why do you do it? Like, what is the intrinsic motivation for you to do that? Like, from listening to you, I think you want to spread messages to hundreds and hundreds of people, like positive messages. And again, same with me in terms of resilience. I'm not doing it to be famous. I'm not doing it because I want to make loads and loads of money. I'm doing this because I care, because I was in a situation where I was at rock bottom, you know, a few periods of my life when I went through adversity. And I used some of these strategies and tactics to get me in a position where I am today, being the happiest person I've ever been. So I want to share that message as far as wide as possible. But ultimately what happens in life is if you reach more people, ultimately that's going to equate to more success. And financially, you're going to be better off anyway. So I think, you know, if you're not thinking about that at the start, but you're thinking about what is your purpose and why you're doing it, you'll get there to where, you know, where you probably want to be in the end anyway.
Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. We talked a lot about resilience, and obviously that's what your brand is essentially called. Is it Resilience with Rohan?
Resilience with Rohan,
that's so I guess, and you talked about obviously what, you know, there's those three things, those like three pillars, I guess, or those pivotal moments between like 8 and 26, 27, which were obviously big, like major life events, which obviously most people, I mean, to be honest, one of those would floor most people. One of those things would like set people back a long way. I'm not saying, you know, you haven't struggled at all, because you clearly have, but I think your mindset about resilience and just being positive, I think makes a big difference. I know you do a lot of keynotes. And I guess, I mean, I had the pleasure of obviously listening to one of them a couple of weeks ago. Was it the NHS? What was it? Or where was it exactly, the building?
So it was Horizon, wasn't it, in Leeds? Horizon in Leeds.
It was like 100 doctors or so.
Yeah, about
like
100
clinical,
doctors.
Clinical professionals and stuff. And obviously, I noticed about you because obviously went to the same college, didn't we?
Yeah.
New college?
Yeah, New college, we were there.
Then you went to, where uni did you go to?
I went to Chef Hallam Uni.
That was it, yeah, that was it. Because a long time ago, I'm flipping out.
Not Sheffield Uni because I'm not smart enough for that.
I went to Beckett, mate, so I can relate to that. I was like, I went to Leeds Uni. Which one?
yeah.
Mate, God, flipping out. Imagine if I said Trinity.
Oh no, mate, that's
not even a university anymore, mate. That's a glorified college.
Yeah, you can't say that.
But I've obviously had the pleasure of listening to you, and I obviously know you, and I know obviously it was about, you lost your dad at, it was 18, 19?
Yeah, 19,
And I guess for me, I mean, obviously I know, but for people who don't, if you want to like maybe go into that a little bit and how that kind of shaped you as a person. Obviously it's had an impact on your life. It'll have an impact on, you know, your family's life, because you've got your mom, your brother, and obviously now your daughter, because obviously, you know, the granddad and stuff. So I suppose because I guess I've not lost a parent. I lost my best friend, 5.5 years ago now. He was 22 in like a freak accident. And it like absolutely wrecked. Like our group was like 15 of us, very, very close. He was like my second cousin. He had a little brother who's 17 at the time, who's like, you know, like our little brother as well. So for me, it was always about, you know, the after effect of, you know, him, and like even now I'm still worried about him. You know, his parents. I'm very close to his parents, and I guess that I remember that just floored me. It's still like, I mean, obviously it's now like bittersweet. Like you remember the good things, you don't think, oh. And it's like sad. And when people bring it up or something, because I got a few tattoos of him, and then people see your tattoos. Somebody actually saw it yesterday, and I told them, and I actually like that they ask, because it's like I get to talk about him, and it's like, well, if I don't talk about him, it's just, we're the people. Do you know what I mean? It's like kind of like the only thing left, not anything that's left of you, but you are actually memories of, you know, what people say. So I suppose the question would be, you know, how was that period in your life, and kind of how do you think that shaped you, and kind of made that kind of like shaped your resilience, and kind of made you the person you are, I guess, because it's, you know, it's a big thing.
I think there's nothing that compares to grief, the loss of a loved one. It's utterly earth-shattering, life-changing. It changed me from a boy to a man, in all honesty. I think at the time I was a 19-year-old uni student in Sheffield. I always just say Sheffield. I don't try and put the Hallam bit in it. Sheffield.
It's wise.
Yeah, but it's wise. It makes you sound a little bit cleverer. But I was just being a student, going out 4 nights a week, and on the vodka readies with the lads, and just smashing it really. Yeah, just doing what students should do, and then kind of going from that, walking into A&E one day and seeing my dad, his dead body on one of those silver trolleys with a white cloth over his head, was utterly just, turned my life upside down. And I think kind of in that moment, as I said, I turned from a boy to a man. I had no one else to rely on. My dad was kind of my everything at that time. You know, financially as well, in terms of he'd send me money, etc. And, you know, my dad was a bus driver. He worked for First Bus. He drove buses for like 23, 24 years. And he's somebody that I learned a lot about resilience from, because I think kind of, you know, life is sometimes quite hard for people like myself or yourself or anybody else working in a normal, quite a good job.
Especially people of colour as well.
Yeah. But I expect for my dad coming from India to wake up in the morning at 3 a.m. and drive buses in the freezing cold, you know, for however many, God knows how many hours every single day, getting racially abused on a frequent basis, you know, just to provide for his family. He's a top man, and I've learned a lot about resilience just from watching him and remembering him. The other thing kind of I learned about from him and from that situation was something that I always I think about. It's a quote called Memento Mori. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
It's a Latin.
Quote, Memento Mori. So it means that, you know, someday we must die. And for me, that was brought into total reality, because you think people are going to live forever, especially the people you love. You just think everybody's going to be here forever. Life's just going to be going like this, you know, so let's just carry on as usual. But it really, this quote, you know, Memento Mori, we must die, brings a sense of urgency to your living, and makes kind of small inconvenience in life not seem as big. You know, if you miss the bus, or you get wet in the rain, or, you know, you've struggled putting the lights on before a podcast. It's I'm not saying any names.
You don't know that bit. Sounds like a handsome man.
But these things are small inconveniences. Don't get me wrong. Look, life is life, and you're gonna get pissed off. I get pissed off. I still wake up and I'm pissed off about certain things.
Because I wake up and I'm just pissed off all the time.
But it's about saying to yourself, for me, I'm in that situation where, because I've seen my dad pass away at such a young age, so suddenly, I'm like, wow, I don't want to waste a single minute of my life, you know, being frustrated. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be moments of it, but I just don't let it last. I don't let it linger. You know, even if I have an argument with my wife or with my brother or my mum or any other family member, we kind of sort of hash it out pretty quickly and say, you know what, it is what it is, and we move on, really. So yeah, it's a big learning curve for me since he died. And I always say this, and this sounds pretty wrong in a way, but my dad dying was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because I've said this to some people and they're like, what are you on about, mate? You're just talking rubbish. But going through that extreme grief and having that responsibility at such a young age put on my shoulders, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And when I talk to people about resilience and adversity, I always talk about adversity is good to a certain extent, because it makes you stronger. You can't become a certain level, a certain version of yourself, a better version of yourself, without going through something. For me, it was one of the most traumatic things you can go through. But again, I ended up being the man I am today because of it. So yeah, it's brought me here to talk about resilience and
yeah,
you know.
No, it's weird how life turns out, isn't it? It's like that. I know people say everything happens for a reason, and I think to some extent I do believe that, because I'm religious, so I guess I have this, when things happen where, like, something good happens, you're like, oh, it's happened for a reason. But then something bad happens, you're like, my life sucks. And then you kind of almost have to, remember, like, well, you might have missed the train, but then, like, train might have crashed, or you might have missed your, I've had lots of times where I've been late to things, or, I know my car broke down or something, and then something bad's actually really happened, like there's actually a pile up on the motorway, or the train was delayed by 5 hours, and I've actually, like, oh, I'm so lucky. But then in the moments when you get stuck in those moments, you're like, why is my bad life suck? And it's not till, like, afterwards where, you get on the train and it's not delayed, you're like, oh my, I'm so lucky, because it's not. And then you get in a car crash and, you make it to your destination. Okay, probably dramatic examples, but you appreciate the fact you've not had to go through it. And I think also when you've been through something bad or traumatic, you can then appreciate when things are going well, I'm appreciating those little things. And I think as well, it's like silver linings as well. I mean, I always say this about my friend died. I think, to be honest, I felt as a group, because there's so many of us, so you go on holiday every year, I felt like some of us was slipping out of the group a little bit. Maybe people are getting girlfriends, boyfriends, you're getting older, getting jobs, because we were, growing up since we were very young. So, you hit like 90, because I was 22, you get into that point and you're finishing uni, you're moving away. And I think, obviously at the time, you don't want to hear that, but I think now looking back, I honestly think that it brought us closer together. Yeah. I think now we're a lot closer. We see each other all the time, which we always did anyway, but I think it just feels like a stronger group. We still go on holiday every year. Obviously, it's not the same, but we always make a toast. We celebrate his birthday 2 weeks ago. We always celebrate his anniversary. And, it's kind of nice to remember those things. It also gives us a reason to come together every year. And like, I see his friends from college who I only get to see once a year. Yeah. And like, but if I probably wouldn't see them. Do you know what I mean? And I think maybe they would have moved away, but they come back anyway because they want to see his parents and stuff. So you got to remember the little things, but also not forget, like, things do happen for a reason, but also, you got to see the positives and things. And I used to be very much an optimist, and I think I've become more of a pessimist because I got older, and I think I realized that life isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and people who you thought were your friends aren't your friends, and I think the last couple of years have been quite a big transition of, kind of growing up a little bit, which sounds stupid because I'm 29, but, maybe I think I was coasting a lot from 21, because I got into a very good job at uni, was there for 5 years pretty much, and then kind of went out on my own. And then it wasn't until I went out on my own and I had a few failed relationships, or one bad failed relationship. I'm trying to make it sound worse than it is, but it was, I think, but then now it's kind of like, and you think, oh, life's tough, why is life suck? Why is it mean to me? Why me? Why me? And then you realize that, you always think you're the main character, because you are, because you live in your head. It's like saying, be kind to yourself, because you have to live with yourself every day. You got to live in your head every day. No one else is there. You haven't got a neighbor. You don't switch off. Even when you're dreaming, you're still thinking about things. So I think it's just being able to be kind to yourself, but also, like we spoke about, resilience and like mindfulness, and be able to train your mind. And also, I think it's being emotionally intelligent as well, like being able to manage your emotions because I know, like we said before, guys don't often speak about it. And I have a lot of friends where they're very manly, very, what's the word, like testosterone boost, big gym guys, and they're all lovely, but you see those moments when they kick off on a night out, when they've seen it, or they'll snap, or they'll just be just not themselves. And it's probably because, a lot of the time, it's because they've got all that built up trauma, and that, that almost like that, they're not spoken about it enough. And then I've seen them recently when they've been married or they've gone to therapy, and they're honestly just different people. But they didn't realize at the time, and I probably didn't realize until you kind of look back and you're like, oh, that's why they've been a dick. That's why. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's hindsight's a beautiful thing, I suppose. And yeah,
it's really interesting that because you talked a lot about connection there with other people, and I think a big misconception about resilience in general is that you've got to be strong and you've got to grit your teeth and you've got to get through it all on your own and you can't talk to anybody, and it doesn't, you just don't need anybody else. But I think that's a lie. I think that as humans we need connection, scientifically, biologically. Back in the day when our ancestors were around and they were being chased by saber-toothed tigers,
panthers and stuff.
Yeah, like if you're not in a tribe and you're a person who's been ousted from the tribe, you're going to struggle. So I think, biologically we're pack animals, humans, we need to be together. And I think for me, this idea of embracing love and connection, I've been extremely lucky that I found my wife when I did. I grew up with my wife in school, actually, which is we were childhood sweethearts. And we kind of lost contact when I went to university. But when my dad passed away, we came back into each other's lives. And it was almost like my dad had meant for that to happen. And we got back together. And instantly it was just like it was meant to be. Long story short, we ended up getting married. And she's the best thing that ever happened to me, because she's a person that I can trust and rely on to speak about anything that's on my mind. I must annoy her every single day with the amount of shit that I talk, honestly. And she'd probably say the same, but she's honestly an angel, because I think everybody needs that person. I think we all do. And it's really hard sometimes in this modern day and age to find a person that you can trust to do that with, to be that vulnerable and to be yourself. I'm just so fortunate that I'm in that position to be able to do that. And I'm not holding this stuff in my head. Like, I think a lot of young men hold these negative thoughts in their head for so long, and they just don't feel that they have the right person to be able to get them out to. So having a strong, close friendship group like you have, or having a partner or anybody, just somebody who wants the best for you in life. I think it's so valuable to become more resilient.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with everything you've said, to be honest. It's hard not to. I think I agree with, relationships. It's the most important thing in life, in business. To be honest, in business, I find I've got further, more positive, more happiness from great relationships, going to those events, going to those things where maybe I didn't want to, speaking to those people, like messaging those people on LinkedIn, pestering people on Instagram, which I do all the time. And people are like, how'd you get these people? I'm like, I know how to send 100 DMs. They're like, yeah, but isn't that rude? I'm like, well, no, because I'm not doing it for, monetary or negative reasons. I'm doing it because I like their content, or I think they're going to be a good podcast guest, or because I want to work with them, or just have a conversation with them. And I think a lot of people find that weird. They find it like, you can't just do that. And I'm like, who told you that?
Yeah, exactly.
But then also, I'm a persistent bastard. Like, I will heckle, man. But the thing is, I've been told that, but I've also been told that I do it in a nice way, so it doesn't come across as rude. Because I hate when you get it on LinkedIn all the time. Recruiters, 445 messages. But it's all crap. It's never like, I love your content.
Yeah, it's never
have a nice
good,
day.
It's
like, love your content, have a nice day. Have you subscribed to our cryptocurrency? Like 5% off, or whatever it is, trying to sell me sofas at DFS or something. And I think it's all about connection. And I think like networks, I hate that saying net worth, see net worth, but it does make a difference of like, who you spend your time with, who you surround yourself with. Surround yourself with 4 entrepreneurs, you can probably be an entrepreneur. Surround yourself with 4 drug dealers, you're probably going to end up being a drug dealer or taking drugs. Like, it's, you should be surrounding yourself with people who are going to push you further, or, make you a better person, or, push you forward into what you want to do. And I suppose, we could speak all day about positivity and resilience and all this stuff. But I guess my final question would be, what's the future look like for you personally, professionally? And I guess, how is resilience going to play a part in that? You've already spoke about how it's kind of shaped who you are and like what you do, but how do you think resilience is going to change your future a little bit? And what do you think that will look like in the next, say, couple of years or so?
I think it's a really interesting question, because I think when I see and I watch a lot of people, some big leaders, etc., or some motivational speakers, like, you have to have goals. You have to have a goal for next week and a goal for 2 years and a 5-year plan. But I'm not that person. I feel that, like, again, it comes back to the intrinsic reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm doing to feel good, and I want to live a balanced life. I want to be happy with the work I'm doing. I want to be going to sleep knowing that I'm spreading a good message. I want to look after my wife. I want to look after my daughter. I want to have a good social life. I want to keep fit and healthy. And I don't want to worry about, in Stoic philosophy, they call it the third thing. The third thing meaning, what are you going to gain from doing all these things consistently? If you're doing the good things consistently every single day of your life and you're enjoying it, you're going to get to where you need to get to. Life will take you there anyway, naturally. So I think for me personally, mine is just to make sure that I'm on a daily basis doing the things that I love doing, and generally moving in a positive direction, if that makes sense. Because I don't think you can we can't predict the future. We can't predict what's going to happen in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years time. So things change so often. Like, a few weeks ago, I didn't know I was going to be sat here in front of you talking like this. So it's life happens. Somebody could watch this podcast and get in touch with us or yourself, and we could end up with a new opportunity that throws you into a complete different sphere of where you were planning to be. So it's
life's a mystery, man.
Life's a mystery.
I love it though.
Yeah, it's amazing. It keeps it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've said a lot of positive things. You've said a lot of things I think will resonate with a lot of people, and I think as well relatable stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess you do a lot of public speaking, you do a lot of keynotes, and obviously we'll link all your website, all that stuff down in the description. And I think you'd actually be really good at. You should have your own podcast. I think you'd be, and because you've got a good logo and a brand, and I think that would be, even if it's just you. I don't think you even need guests.
Yeah.
Just like sound bites, 5-10 minutes, like little things you've said, and I think that would I don't know. I mean, that's the kind of thing I'd listen to. Or like in the morning when you have, people have those 5-minute like TED Talk things. Like TED Talks like quite short.
Yeah.
Sort of like that. I don't know. Something to think about.
No, thank you. No, that's a big compliment, mate. But yeah, I'm not good with the tech stuff and the cameras and the lights.
We'll help you.
Yeah.
I mean, neither am I, mate, as you can probably tell. But this is a new studio, so we'll be using it a lot more, and it's a great space. And I think I just love kind of being able to have great conversations with cool people and just kind of spread the message, spread the joy, mate. And I always say like, are you feeling the joy? It's like one of my sayings. And like, 'cause sometimes I say to people, you're not feeling the joy today? And they're like, shut up. And I'm like, come on, bro.
Yeah, I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it today.
Good. Thank you so much for coming, man. I really, really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you
man.
very much.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.